Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the first Q&A sesh. This is basically just a video where we take your questions from the uncut video, the podcast, wherever the fuck we can find your comments, and we answer them. So let's get into it. The first question comes from Floris Simple Pickup. Hey guys, just a question concerning this topic. Yesterday I asked a girl at the university I go to, who's in most of my classes, to go on a date to have coffee. She said yes, and then she texted me that she doesn't really want to see anyone right now. I went ahead and replied to say that it was fine. Should I have pushed this interaction and insisted I take her out on one date? Or is it best to completely forget about her and move on? Alright, so the answer to the question, should I have pushed the interaction, is always yes. If she says she's not interested in anybody right now, there's two things you can do. One is you can keep pinging her via text or phone call and just keep flirting until one day she's going to say, you know what, I'm going to give this guy a chance. Or two, you can frame it as, let's just hang out as friends. And then when you guys hang out as friends, you can use that date to push the interaction into a more than friends level. Then when you guys hang out as friends, you can show her what a cool guy you are and then push the interaction from there, verbally and physically. All right, the next question comes from Okib, or Okib. How do you guys take videos of all this stuff without looking like a creepy stalker? There are a lot of little small techniques that we use when we're filming to stay out of the girl's vision, but the main thing is whoever's talking to the girl usually gets her caught up in what we call the us mentality bubble. So what this is you get her so into your world that she doesn't notice anything around you. She's in a bubble with you, and nothing can penetrate that. There have been multiple times where I was talking to a girl outside of a bar or a club and a fight broke out or something crazy happens right next to us and she doesn't even notice. You'll see a video 2 or 3 weeks from now where I'm talking to a girl and her aunt is actually calling her from like 10 feet away, yelling her name, saying the limo is here. And she does not even hear a word of this. Why? Because I've created this bubble, this connection it's almost like it's hypnotizing. It's also really interesting because when we're filming boot camp students or guys who are like brand new at this, we actually get caught a lot more significantly because those guys don't know how to create that bubble yet. And the girls are basically looking for an excuse to get away. Sage Product asks, pushing it as far as you can doesn't always apply in the sexual sense, right? Say you're a relationship kind of guy dating a similar girl. Is there some sort of merit in taking things slow sexually? So that's a good question. Pushing things as far as you can is very relative to the situation that you're in. For example, if you're in a supermarket, you're not going to try to make out with a girl within 60 seconds of talking to her. In a nightclub, however, you can do that very easily. As for the relationship thing, generally, yes. If you want to have a long-term relationship, it's good to slow down a little bit. But I really don't like giving out that advice because then guys take it way too slow and they use that as an excuse. It also depends on the girl. If she's very comfortable with her sexuality, she's a confident person, then you can very well have sex with her on the first night and still have a great relationship afterward. So basically, there are a lot of variables when it comes to pushing the interaction as far as you can. But here's a general rule. If you're ever wondering during any type of interaction, should I be pushing this interaction further? The answer is yes. Street Baller asks, you guys obviously are sleeping with multiple girls at the same time. Do you feel that you're ever hurting the girl by doing this? Are you always upfront in telling them that you're sleeping with other girls, or do you just fuck first and let them ask questions later? This is something that I can explain, but you're not going to fully understand it unless you're meeting a ton of girls. But in a nutshell, we handle the relationships with these girls we meet in a way that is very obvious to them what's going on. We make it pretty clear that we're not looking for anything serious. This means we don't go out on fancy dates with them. This means we don't ask questions that are too personal, like, you know, their family history, that kind of stuff. And when we meet, it's usually always to have sex. It rarely happens, but in the case that they ask, where's this going, or they want to know the status of the relationship, I'll tell them very bluntly, I'm not looking for anything serious. And in my experience, a lot of girls actually appreciate this honesty. After I've told them that, almost every single girl has stuck around until either they got a real boyfriend or they were just bored with the whole friends with benefits thing. The New Guy 23 says, could you guys go into more detail about what the line is between pushing an interaction and coming off as needy? So it's mostly about the tone and the vibe that you're giving off. If you're saying something like, come on, let's go to Starbucks, it's going to be fun, I'll pay for your drink, come on, let's do it, and you're using uptalk, which we've talked about before, that's coming off as needy and you're basically begging her to come with you. Needless to say, that's unattractive. All right, now imagine that you say it in a different way, something like, all right, I got an idea. The two of us, let's go to Starbucks and have a coffee. Do you see who's the needy one and who's not the needy one, even though technically both people are inviting her to Starbucks? Your sub-communication to her should be, look, you're a very attractive girl, I would enjoy your company, but if you don't come with me, I don't give a shit. Obviously don't say that verbally, but that's what your tone and your vibe should be giving off. Next question is from HD. Hey, awesome guys, but I got a question. I've been wondering ever since I started watching Simple Pickup. Can you guys do more videos in high energy environments on how to pick up girls inside clubs? I watch you guys, but still can't master this shit. I use the same lines you guys use, try to make conversation, but every time I fail. I keep trying, but would really appreciate your help. This is something that we've been trying to do consistently. We really want to film inside clubs, and we really want to get footage of us talking to girls inside clubs or inside bars. Unfortunately, there are legal issues associated with this. We can't film inside a bar. We have to get their permission, that kind of thing. And then we got to get a mic that drowns out the noise of the music. So there are a lot of intricacies that go into filming inside a club. Just know we are trying. But to give you a few pointers, when you're in a club, and I'm talking about a club where people are generally there to dance. So if you're inside that kind of club, you need to move very, very fast. Why is this? Because it's a high energy environment. If you want to go into that environment and start talking your ass off about your family and your friends and then your work or whatever, that girl is going to leave as soon as you look away. So in a club, when I talk to a girl, I would be this close to her face within 10 seconds of talking to her. After 1 minute, I'm holding her hand. After 3 minutes, I take her to the dance floor. After 5 minutes, I try to kiss her. As with everything, the timing of these things vary case by case. But that example was just to show you how much faster you should be moving physically when you're inside a club. Chris Follett asks, how do you get into what you call God mode? I always find it hard to talk to a girl, but when I get into God mode, it becomes really easy. How do you get yourself into it and prevent yourself from getting nervous? We actually did a whole podcast on this, so I won't go into too much detail because that's coming out in like the next couple weeks. But to give you a brief overview real quick, I like to reframe it in my mind. To this day, I still get bitch butterflies when I go out to the bar or when I go out to the mall or when I see a beautiful girl. I still get that feeling inside my stomach that says, don't do it, you might get rejected. But the difference between me and someone who's just learning how to do this is that I know how to handle it. When I go out and I start feeling that, I just reframe it in my mind like this. I think I'm going to fail with the next 20 girls I talk to, and not only am I going to fail, but I'm going to fail horribly. I will go up to girls and say the most ridiculous things I can think of. Something like, damn, your ass is bomb. Hi, I'm Kong. After doing that a whole bunch of times, I start to have a lot of fun and I stop giving a shit. And it's interesting because you'll actually realize that when you say these things and you're having fun doing it, it actually works better than if you have like a memorized scripted line that you want to say to girls. Anyway, that's one of the ways that I get myself into God mode, and everybody does it differently. I know Jesse does something else, Jason does something else that we explain in the podcast, and it might be something completely different for you. But the principle is the same. Just go overboard crazy and then bring it down. A lot of guys, they try to play it safe starting down here and then they try to work their way up. And that never works because, one, it takes too long to get into God mode if you even do. And two, being safe is never attractive. All right, the next question is from Yusuf Onik. Like the bonus video, a lot of times you bring a girl back home telling about some fake party or best sandwich or whatever. And then when she is home, how do you put the moves on her and how fast? I can give you intricacies and tips on how to deal with certain situations, but at that late in the game, every situation is so different. But to answer your question in a broad sense, you just have to do it, basically. You have to continue making out with her. You have to bring her to your room. You have to keep leading. You have to keep escalating. One quick tip is when you're on the bed, be sure to take your clothes off first before you take hers off. This makes her feel more comfortable with the situation, and it makes her feel less insecure about being naked. Otto's question is, Kong, I've watched all you guys' videos and realized you guys use a lot of the push, pull, and neg techniques, from which I know is one of the keys to attraction, and I'm surprised you guys haven't addressed that yet. So that's really good that you actually caught these intricacies of the interaction. And yes, we will go over them in future episodes. But for those that don't know, push-pull is when you tell a girl in one way or another that you're interested in her, but you don't care if she walks away right now. So basically, you're pushing her away, and then you're pulling her back in. One example that I've used just recently is I would tell a girl, you're really gross on the inside, you know that? I really hate you. And then 2 seconds later, I'll say, but you're extremely hot, so I love you. And then I'll give her a hug. All right, guys, that's it for today's Q&A. If you've noticed, I skipped some people's questions who asked more than one, and that's because we want to answer as many people as we can. So next time, instead of asking like 5 or 6 questions in one post, try to limit it to just one. Now, if you have any feedback you want to give us on anything, this Q&A, the videos, the new user interface, the podcast, whatever, or you want to give some suggestions, go to the feedback section on the navigation on the left side of your screen. Let us know what you think, what your suggestions are, what we can improve, and we're constantly reading that because we're constantly trying to make Project Go a lot better. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you next week.